الحمد لله رب العالمين وأصلي وأسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين. أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you for joining the session. Inshallah, these will be short reminders, hopefully 30 to 40 minutes maximum. I won't ramble on forever. The reason why we're here today is we want to uncover the verses of Hajj in the Quran and see how they're supposed to affect us and how they're supposed to change us for the rest of our lives. Now, just a few pointers before we start. We have a problem. We have a lot of problems in the Muslim Ummah. We have a lot of problems in ourselves before the Muslim Ummah. But one of these problems is that we refer to Eid or this season as Eid. We call Ramadan, although after Ramadan is Eid. But we call Dhull hijja Eid. You never hear anyone saying, oh, I'm going to do this for Dhull hijja. I'm going to dedicate time during Dhull hijja doing this. I have a plan for Dhull hijja. Nobody says that. People say, what are you doing for Eid? And we've completely erased the season of Dhull hijja from our lives. Thinking that, Hajj is for those people over there in Saudi Arabia that, alhamdulillah, were able to get the money to go and do Hajj. As for us, we're just waiting for Eid. We're just waiting for the lamb and for the ribs and for the thawb and for the new abaya and for the new kufi. And we've completely done away with the season of Dhull hijja. And so I'm just going to touch a little bit about the importance of Dhull hijja before I go to this first verse. And we're going to tackle a few verses in the Quran from around different areas in the Quran, different surah, that actually speak about Hajj. And we're going to speak about their context, their meaning, and their broader meaning. Because every verse has khusus al-sabab wa amum al-lafz. There is the particular reason why it came, for a specific reason, then there's a general meaning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some scholars say that these 10 days are the 10 that complete Ramadan. And they take it from وَوَعَدْنَا مُوسَى 30 لَيْلَةً وَأَتْمَمْنَاهَا بِعَشْرٍ. We promised Musa 30 nights and we completed them with 10. وَأَتْمَمْنَاهَا بِعَشْرٍ. These are the 10. Right? And if you look at the comparisons between them, they're beautiful. The last 10 days of Ramadan are the best 10 nights, because in them is hidden Laylatul Qadr. These are the best 10 days, meaning the deeds you do in the night and in the day, they are the best you can do. In Ramadan, the last 10 nights, it's most beloved to do i'tikaf. In i'tikaf, you can't really go out and do much good. You're not supposed to go and visit the sick. You're not supposed to help people much. You're not supposed to go into the practical world, basically. Right? You're supposed to do i'tikaf. However, in these days, you're supposed to actually be free and go and not confine yourself to a space. So much so that the person who wants to go and do jihad, the Prophet ﷺ said, no, to stay in these days and do many good deeds is better than going for jihad, except if you're sure that you're going to go out and lose all of your money and lose your soul. For sure you're a goner because it's a lost case, it's a cause that you have to defend and you're going to lose, then okay, then you're better than the person who stayed these 10 days and did good deeds. And we spoke before that when the Sahaba asked the Prophet ﷺ, if we want to equate someone in jihad in their deeds, what are we supposed to do? He said, you won't be able to. He said, Ya Rasulullah, to show you something we can do, what can we do? He said, you won't be able to. He said, Ya Rasulullah, tell us. You won't be able to. The fourth time that he told him, okay, it's that you go into a mosque. You start fast. When he leaves for the battlefield, you go into the mosque. You start praying and fasting. You do not break your fast at all. You pray and you do not stop prayer and you don't sleep. And you pray in the best of states, and your khushu' is top notch. You don't go down a degree. Only then can your deeds be equal to the person who's out in jihad. And they said, who of us can do this? He said, that's why I told you. In other words, that's why I told you cannot do what he does. Despite that, look at the edge of the jihadi, despite that, staying and doing the various types of different deeds you can do in these 10 days is more beloved to Allah than going out for jihad. And yet, we call it the season of Eid. We don't call it Dhull hijja, and we don't have parameters for it. We don't take out time, just like we try to take out time for Ramadan. One last pointer I want to say, inshallah, for us to make the best of these days. Please, let's in the best of these days not fall into the by the way, in the end, whether we live in the West or you're not, whether you were born in the West or not, if you had access to internet from the age of 5 or you had TV from the age of 5, you're somehow affected by the Western culture, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not. Let's not fall into the circle, the trap of, I want to have a feeling, I want to feel khushu', I want to feel closer to Allah. Leave the feelings to come when they come. Your job and my job is to have a longing to be with Allah, is to reflect. These days are days of reflection, of khalwa. Khalwa is to stay alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent the message to Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he was alone in the mountain. He sent the message to Sayyidina Musa when he was alone with the fire. He left his family, he was alone with the fire. He sent the message to Sayyidina, he spoke to Sayyidina Maryam. He sent her Sayyidina Jibreel to give her the message when she was alone in the east side of the Bayt al-Maqdis. Every single prophet or Nabi, when he received the message, he was alone. You need to be alone, be reflective, and actually worry more about your state than think about the good feelings and the good vibes. If you notice, all of the prophets were very afraid when they had this interaction with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or with an angel. Why? Because they were worried of what is to come. Are you and I worried about what is to come for the next year? How we're going to treat Allah in every single thing we do, and how we reflect, and how we act, and how we talk, and how we speak, and how we buy, and how we sell, and how we work, and how we study, and how we immigrate, and who we deal with, and who we choose to be with in our lives? This is the main thing. Reflect and do and have a plan and enjoy the fact that Allah has chosen you. The Salaf said, of the signs of that Allah is content with you is that He puts in you the will and the want and the need to call out to Him and to please Him. A lot of people out there don't care, and they will not care that the day of Arafah is coming, and they won't care that they have to fast the day of Arafah. They don't care. And that just shows you that the fact that Laylatul Qadr is hidden makes no difference in it if we knew what day it was, because some people know what day it is, just like we know what day is Arafah, and they still don't do anything about it. For the fact that Allah has chosen you to be with His team, to make dua, to want to get closer, to want to please Him, and just find any deed you can do to please Him is a sign that He is content with you. And what else do you want? What else do we want than Allah to be content with us? Radiyallahu anhu wa radu anhu. Allah is content with them, and they are content with Him. How can Allah be content with people who are sinful all the time? It's because they want to please Him. They know that they cannot please Him enough, but they try. They come with this attitude. For in these days, don't look for the feelings. Look for the fact of reflection of how much are you really trying to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, that said, I took 10 minutes already, so that's a third of the whole thing. The first verse we're going to tackle of this series, inshallah, today, and I put it in the chat if you want to read it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يسألونك عن الأهلة قل هي مواقيت للناس والحج وليس البر بأن تأتوا البيوت من ظهورها ولكن البر من اتقى وأتوا البيوت من أبوابها واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. They ask you about the crescents of the moon. Say, they are time marks for mankind and for the pilgrimage. And virtue is not attained by approaching houses from their backs. Rather, their virtue is exemplified in one who approaches them from the doors. And be mindful of Allah that you may succeed. And be mindful of Allah that you may succeed. I think the verse is not complete, so I'll put it in full here. The lessons back from this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the Sahaba asked, first of all, this shows us a very big sign. The Sahaba, they used to ask the Prophet not about particulars. They used to ask him about generals and particulars. The moon is the moon. Crescents are the crescents. Why should I go and ask the Prophet ﷺ about something that is a natural phenomenon that occurs on a daily basis? Simply because this is a level of Iman that is unprecedented. This means that even the things that come to me naturally, it's just the moon. I want to ask, maybe there's something about the moon I don't understand. Maybe there's something of why Allah created the moon I don't understand. And this is the level of the believer, not the level of a Muslim. Muslim is you just have the passport. Your name is on it. This. And a mu'min, a believer is higher. A mu'min is, Ya Rabbi, I know nothing. I want to know from you. But they asked, what is this whole crescent thing? Why does Allah give us crescents? But the Prophet ﷺ, he responded after Allah told him to respond. قُلْ هَيَ مَوَاقِيتٌ لِلنَّاسِ وَالْحَجِّ. Imagine Allah equated two things at the same time. قُلْ هَيَ مَوَاقِيتَ لِلنَّاسِ وَالْحَجِّ. It is signs, it is time stamps for people and Hajj. And it shows when Hajj is. Remember when we were talking about the Quran, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to the Prophet, وَلَقَدْ أَتَيْنَاكَ سَبْعًا مِنَ الْمَثَانِ وَالْقُرْآنِ الْعَظِيمِ. Allah gave you 7 of the most repeated ones, 7 of the couplets, 7 of the most praiseworthy ones, 7 of the most repeated ones, and the whole Quran. And these 7 are the Fatiha. For Allah equated the greatness of Al-Fatiha with the whole Quran. Like Allah equated all of time stamps with the greatness of Hajj. You see, when we look at the sun, you cannot tell what time it is of the month through the sun. You cannot. If all devices in the world shut down, there's no batteries, there's no AI, there's no Google search, there's no nothing. There's no way to keep time stamps. You cannot tell the time, you cannot tell where we are in history and the calendar through the sun. You can tell the time of day, but you cannot tell where we are in history through the sun. You can only tell through the moon. The moon tells you where we are in our cycles. That's how it is. The moon is what tells us how we are in the cycles. The moon tells us when Ramadan starts, when Ramadan ends, when the menstrual cycle of a woman starts or ends. And this has a lot of implications on inheritance, on divorce, on marriage, on a lot of things. It tells us when you owe someone to give them back their loan, if they gave you a loan. It tells us a lot of things. It tells us the 4 months that are hurum, the 4 months where we're not allowed to have war in, or it's hated to have war in. You should not instigate, because Allah wants people to have peace. Even if it comes in a month which it's actually strategically good for you to have war because it comes in a particular season. But no, you're not supposed to. Allah's cutting all reasons for you to have war. Allah doesn't want us to go to war. The moon, the crescents give us timestamps for all of these things. The last day of Ramadan, the last day of Ramadan, you have to fast. But the day right after Ramadan, it is haram to fast. Can you imagine? All of these things, timestamps through the crescents. And Allah equated it with Hajj. Why is Hajj so important? Why is Hajj so important? And we're going to go back to taqwa in a second. Because if Ramadan is how you start your journey as a mu'min. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Oh, you believe? Fasting has been prescribed to you like it's been prescribed to those who have come before you, that maybe you will have taqwa. The first thing in the Quran, by the way, the first order Allah gave was taqwa in Surah Al-Baqarah. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ أَعْبُدُوا رَبَّكُمْ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Oh, people, worship your Lord, the one who created you and the one who came from before you, that maybe you will have taqwa. And then He said in Ramadan, fasting is prescribed to you so that you can have taqwa. So He gave you the order and He gave you the prescription to be able to have the order. You need to lose weight. How do I lose weight? Here's your prescription. Allah gave you the whole system so you know exactly what to do. If Ramadan is the pathway, it shows you the pathway to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hajj is telling you this is the end of your life. Hajj is a rehearsal for your the most important day of your life, which is Yawm al-Qiyamah. So Ramadan prepares you for your whole life. In Ramadan, you pray more. You give more sadaqah. Like the Prophet ﷺ used to give more sadaqah in Ramadan. He used to revise the Quran more in Ramadan. He used to fast in Ramadan because it's fard. He used to. Anything good he did, he would increase in Ramadan. He used to stay away from people and stay in i'tikaf in Ramadan. A blueprint. Use these things throughout the year to keep your taqwa. But then in the end, you're going to go back to Allah on Judgment Day. And Hajj is a picture of Judgment Day. We all come to Him on Judgment Day naked. Nobody's going to be wearing anything. Naked. Hatta Sayyidah Aisha, she asked the Prophet ﷺ, and the men, Ya Rasul, they're not going to look at the women. He said, "Ya Aisha, the matter on the day is much more. It's much more than you would expect. It's much more impressing on people than what you would expect. Nobody's going to look at anyone else." So we all come in Hajj and Umrah, and the Prophet ﷺ said, "Al-Umrah al-Hajj al-Asghar." Umrah is the smaller Hajj, and it's a blessing, by the way, that we have Umrah. Imagine if you had to wait the whole year to go to Hajj. Allah gave you that, if you want, go to Umrah. It's a smaller version of Hajj. The only thing that's in Hajj that's not in Umrah is Arafah and Mina and a few other things. He gave you this blessing to have it. And what about the people who are detained, or people who cannot visit Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia have ties with countries that if you are blacklisted on one country and you visit Saudi Arabia, they'll detain you. Khalas, then sit after Fajr prayer in the mosque, sit until Shuruq, and then pray two rakahs, and make sure that you're doing anything that has to do with Deen, Dhikr or Quran during that time, and you get the reward of Hajj and Umrah complete. Allah does not forget anyone. Anyone. Allah doesn't forget anyone. We all come wearing the white shroud, so we all look the same, like on Judgment. So you cannot tell who is a king and who's not, because on Judgment Day it will not matter who's a king and who's not. We go between Safa and Marwa because we're looking for one hasana, because on Judgment Day you will go to everyone looking for one hasana. If anyone owes you anything, you will take it from them. Someone you swore at, you will take from them their hasana. Someone who owes you money, you will take from them the hasana. And then if they couldn't reach you in dunya and give you back what they owe you, so they paid the sadaqah. So on Judgment Day, you cannot take it from them. When you go and you tell them, "I want my hasana back," Allah will defend you. You say, "No, he paid sadaqah for you and I grew it, so you cannot take anything from them." Hajj, all of Hajj, is a miniature image of Judgment Day. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepares us. And then we have the whole year to practice what we've learned. So Allah put Hajj in one kaffa, in one scale, and He put mawaqit linnas, timestamps for mankind, in another kaffa. So when Hajj, the season of Hajj comes, this is for everyone. We're not supposed to say, "Oh, this is for the Hujjaj, the people who went to Hajj." This is the most important season for all of us, including those who are not at Hajj. We're supposed to look at it and say, "What am I doing with this time? How am I acting? How am I using these days to the best of my capabilities?" And by the way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the way, if He wanted, He could have made Hajj, He could have made the best of days one day. He could have made that the best thing you can do in these days is just one day, Yom Arafah, or on Yom Nahr, which is the 10th day, which is we're not allowed to fast on the 10th day, but it's still of the 10 days. And in the 10th day, we are supposed to be more happy and be more joyous and do more fun things, but those fun things enter into the best of deeds, or the best of things you can do on these 10 days. Can you imagine? This is how Allah trains us, that in life, you have to have a balance. You have to have a time for good and for hardship. You have to have a time where you're doing extra deeds. You have to have a time where you're just making dua, and you know that you cannot do anything now. You just have to give yourself to Allah and just make dua, which is the day of Arafah. Balance, training, constant camp, constant blueprint. Allah says, "Tell them it is time marks for mankind and for the pilgrimage." The crescents are time marks for mankind, for pilgrimage. But they were asking to know what is up about this moon. And just a note here, Allah will not tell us, "Oh, the crescents, they come by that the earth, the way it rotates around the sun, and then the moon rotates around the earth, and then the earth overshadows the moon in a particular manner because of the shadow that's coming, because of the light coming from the sun, so you see it a certain way, and then this." He didn't explain the scientific reasons behind it, because in Surah Al-Rum, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "قُلْ سِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَانْظُرُوا كَيْفَ بَدَأَ الْخَلْقِ." Journey throughout the earth and look, how did we start creation? The scientific part and this idea of understanding the sciences behind things, or what we call falsifiable science, this is up to you. This is up to you to learn. I gave you a mind to use it and to learn. But if you want the ends of things, the reasons of why I created these, I'm giving you the reason. I'm giving you the hikmah behind it, the things that we cannot understand. These things, by the way, we cannot understand. We can all do falsifiable science. Any of us can do falsifiable science. But who can tell us why did Allah do this? We understand that men don't have a menstrual cycle. Why? Allah tells us why. Because men are given certain responsibilities, women are not. And women are given responsibilities, men are not. And they both complete each other. That's it. The science of how the cycle comes and what happens and this is science. Up to you to understand it. Falsifiable science. قل هي مواقيت للناس والحج وليس البر بأن تأتوا البيوت من ظهورها. ولكن البر من اتقى وأتوا البيوت من أبوابها واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just before I go to this, by the way, ahilla, the word ahilla or hilal, the hilal is the crescent. Hilal comes from the word yahillu. Yahillu is when somebody calls out very loudly. When people used to see the crescent, they would call out, marking that the beginning of the month has come. Just like when you have timestamps on your phone, it gives you like a small vibration at the beginning of every hour. They would call to say that there's a new month, shahr. And the shahr comes from the word ishhar. Ishhar is to make something public, to say that this thing has happened. So a month is something that is public. Everybody wants to know that the month is here so that we know what we're doing with time. And we do that through the hill, to call out, to say that this has come in. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and bir is not doing things, is not entering the houses from the back, it's entering houses from the front. And enter it from the front. And bir is to have God consciousness. And have God consciousness that maybe you'll be successful. Now the word bir comes from bar. They're very much interrelated. The word bar means horizon. It's basically the amount, it's doing good in such a way that you cannot see the ending of the horizon. When you look around at the horizon, you cannot see the end. The horizon is endless. You cannot even see it. That's exactly what bir is. It's good that's endless. Yani a person comes, you don't know, you have so much good faith in them because they do so much good, you never know where their good is going to stop. البر هو الخير الحسن النافع. It is good, that is excellent, that benefits. It's everything together. So when they ask you about bir, when they ask you what is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that bir is not coming from the back of houses. Before Islam, when the Arabs used to go to the pilgrimage, and that's the last of what they had of the way of Sayyidina Ibrahim. It's the last, the remnants of what they had of the Tariq al-Hanifayya, the way of being monotheist towards Allah. When one of them would wear his ihram and go out to Hajj or to pilgrimage, if he forgot something in his house or he wanted to go back to his house to do something, he would not come from the front door. He would jump through the ceiling if he had an open ceiling, or before they would go out to Hajj, they would create a small hole in the wall at the back of the house, so they would come back from the... It's a way of saying, anyway, I'm going out, I'm not going to come back to my normal life anymore. I have to be in a state kida where... And the Prophet ﷺ did away with this. He did away with all of these outwardly signs that mean nothing. Wearing the ihram when we're doing Hajj and Umrah has a meaning. There is a meaning behind it, a spiritual meaning, and there is an important visual meaning for everyone visiting. But not going back into your house through the door and jumping in. Imagine kida, you're at the Umrah and you booked a hotel, and every time you go back to your room, instead of going in from the front door, you climb up the skyscraper and you jump in from the window. And you say, oh, because I'm in the state of ihram. These silly things, the Prophet ﷺ did away with them. When he once saw a man, he was standing in the sun and people were talking to him and he was not responding. He said, what's he doing? He said, he vowed he's going to fast, and that to make his fasting excellent, he's going to stand and not sit, be in the sun and not in the shade, and not talk. He said, let him talk, and let him sit in the sit, and let him sit in the shade, and let him complete his fast. These things that don't make a difference and that are just silly ways of pretentious ways of acting like we're religious, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did away with them. And this is the deeper meaning behind this verse that we should all walk away with, and this is the main thing I want to walk away with today. We do a lot of things in our lives. Alhamdulillah, Allah gives us tawfiq to do a lot of things, be it prayer, be it zakah, be it sadaqah, be it being nice to people, be it hanging out with people who want to be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be it being good to our families, be it whatever it is. Okay? The question is, these things that we are we doing them because we want to have the image from the outside of, I am a good person, I am a good Muslim? Because you see, this image is very toxic. And this image has several levels. So there's the level of, I'm going to be a good Muslim by praying, by, covering up, by being modest, by holding my tongue and not saying swear words, or not being rude to people, not being nervous, whatever. Because I want people to say I'm good. That's the lowest level. That's like the worst. The lower you go, the worse, by the way. That's the lowest level. Okay. What's the slightly better level? Yeah, the slightly better level is myself. I want, when I look at myself, I'm content with what I see in the mirror. Oh yeah, mashallah, I'm on the deen, I'm holding on to the coal of fire. I'm in the days where the person who's holding the coal, holding on to their deen is like holding a coal of fire, a coal that's hot and burning. Mashallah, I'm striving, That's another low, but it's still a low. And by the way, some people, astaghfirullah, by the way, when I say people, first of all, I mean myself. Honestly, I mean myself. Wallahi, I mean myself. And then secondly, I'm talking about most of us. Okay? The higher level, which is bardo horrible. I want to tell Allah, I'm doing everything you told me to do. So, number one, you owe me Jannah. No way, I do this for you and you take me to hell. No way. And number two, give me good things in life. By the way, for some people, number two comes before number one. And once I met a couple who were very religious, but I could tell they're very materialistic in how they're religious. They count everything. And everything they miss. Tell me, I have this word, this much Quran I read per day. I cannot go beyond it. I cannot go under it because I calculate it, how many hasanat through this amount of pages of Quran. I have to fast these amount of days because if you fast this amount and you fasted this much, everything calculated. For once, he had a slip of a tongue and he told me, I used to be very poor. And I married my wife, we were very poor, both of us. And then Allah gave me a lot of money. And He gave me a position I could not dream of, which is true. He was a CEO for a very big packaging company in the Middle East. And so now I have everything. I have the villa I wanted, the pool I wanted, I have a car for every child, I have a huge car, I don't know what's the model, blah, 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 blah. So then one day we were sitting, me and her, and we said, what's left of the dunya? Nothing. Let's aspire to something higher and let's ask Allah now for Jannah. So let's do everything we can to get Jannah. And by the way, this is a smart way of thinking. It's a smart transaction, but it's a very cheap transaction. It's a smart transaction because he's right, but it's a very cheap transaction. Some of us want with Allah, and I prove to you, I did what you want me to do. La Habibi, you should be thankful to Allah that He gave you deen. Ana wallahi, I don't know how people live. We have a system. We have things when we get up from bed we say. When we get up from bed, we wash our teeth and we wash our face, we do our wudu, we clean our nose because that's where all the laziness is. We exercise because it's a reason. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. The sabr is the exercise, the salah is the prayer. Sabr is the actions you do out of the prayer that keep you on the deen. Be it exercise, be it a good hobby, be it walking, be it having a conversation with consulting with your inner circle of Muslims. And then the salah is the pure worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's all worship, but this is a type of form, and this is a form. مُسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, good things. We have a system. You should be thankful to Allah that He gave you a system. He told you what to do with everything, in any situation, in any place. He told you exactly what to do. Then we're supposed to be thankful. This is the mentality we should have. If you come out of Dhull hijja exactly as you were the last year, by the way, which is a problem. We should every year be doing something a bit more. I'm not even talking about quantity. Sometimes the quality of your prayer should be better than last year. But let's say you come out the same way you were the last year. The only difference that you add to this equation is that this time you're doing it because you want Allah to see that your heart is full of taqwa. Not that I do a lot of deeds or I'm amazing, or if you compare me to the average Muslim in my community, in my Arab community, Asian community, Asian women, Asian men, Arab women, whatever, I'm surpassing them. No. I'm doing it because I want Allah best to see in my heart that I am having taqwa, which is God consciousness of Him, or staying away from all the systems in life that don't lead to Him and sticking only to the one system. I'm having taqwa, staying away from all the systems that don't lead to Him and sticking to His system so I can reach Him. I want Him to see this in my heart. Bas. Nothing else. Not because I want the image of رجل صالح. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Or امرأة صالحة. MashaAllah. Who are we to say who is salih and who is not? We don't have the metrics to be on the image. We can say, and that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, when somebody says something good about someone, فليقل نحسبه هكذا. We believe him to be as such. We don't know his state. We believe him to be as such. And I end with a few notes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, in the verse before this is verse 189. In the verse 177, Allah says, ليس البر بأن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب. Bir is not that you face the east and the west. So it's not about the prayers that you do or the qibla that you're facing towards or all the deeds that you do. I'm putting it in the chat here as well. ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل والسائلين وفي الرقاب وأقام الصلاة وآتى الزكاة والموفون بعهدهم إذا عاهدوا والصابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المتقون. Bir or righteousness is not that you turn. By the way, righteousness is the wrong word. But bir, there are some words in Arabic you cannot translate to English. Bir is not that you turn your faces towards the east and the west. But true bir is, he started with the basics, with the creed, with the understanding. Who believes in Allah, the last day, the angels and the book and the prophets. And then the practical, which is the sabr, which is the doing good, the bir of sabr. We said there's sabr and there's salah. This is the sabr part, right? And then he gave of his wealth. Wealth is time, experience, emotions, ability, energy, body, physical energy, not just your money. Gave of his wealth in spite of a love for it. You love your energy, you love your health, you love your time, you love your money. He gave it to relatives, orphans, the needy, the traveler, and those who ask for help. So your inner circle all the way to the outer circle. So that your inner circle doesn't hate you. How do we have animosity in societies? When inner circles are not taken care of. When I know that my cousin knows that I am poor and he should give me something, he's not giving me. He's giving to rabbits and bears and pandas that are being, persecuted around the world, which is fine. That's true. But he's not giving me and he knows that I'm poor. People become bitter this way. Okay? And those who ask for help, and for freeing slaves. And then he put in the middle prayer. He put them in the middle of all of this, and those who establish the prayer. He didn't say those who act out the prayer. يَأَدُّونَ الصَّلَاةَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. Because the iqama means that your outward is like your inner. When you pray, then your outward, your actions in life are exactly like you do, exactly like your prayer. You bring out the prayer into your life, iqama, from standing. And we said before in the Meaningful Prayer series, you can find it on the the YouTube channel, Rashada channel. I can put the link afterwards. In the whole series, we're talking about the meaning of the word iqama. It has over, I think, 10 or 15 meanings we were talking about. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used it. He put it right in the middle. وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ. So they pray their prayers well. And they give their zakah. And they fulfill their promise when they promise. Even to a child. I promise you I'm going to get you this tomorrow. If you can't make it, you tell them, and I apologize, I couldn't make it because of this. You explain to them. Never break your promise. And those who are patient in poverty and hardship and during battle, those are the ones who were true. And those who are the ones who were muttaqoon. Again, we go back to the concept of righteousness. Back to the concept of muttaqoon. God conscious. Again. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defined for us al-birr, He gave, this is a rahmah for us, by the way, to know what bir is, because your definition of bir is different than mine. I could see something as good, you could see it as not good. I know someone who used to tell me, I can't believe that people actually go to Hajj and Umrah when the Palestinians are suffering. They should give all that money to them. I see their point, but they're wrong. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who told us what is correct and what is not. What is bir and what is not. And just to leave, just a small, and this is just one of the Quranic jewels. Kida. It has a lot to do with grammar, and I'm not a specialist in grammar by any stretch whatsoever. But this is something I learned very beautiful from Sheikh Sharawi, so I just wanted to relate it to you. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in verse 177 or in ayah 177, لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ, the birra or bir in the end, it's mansub. Yani it has a fatha on the end of the ra. So it's birra, right? If you go back to verse 189, you will see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَيْسَ الْبِرُّ بأن تأتوا البيوت من ظهورها. He said ليس البر رو مرفوع, right? So he put a dhamma on it. ولكن, and he said but ولكن البر من اتقى. And then he brought it back. He said البر. He put a nasb on it, so it became a fatha. It became mansub again. Bir is the person who has got consciousness. طبعا this has to do with grammar, and if you follow the patterns of grammar, this is why this is marfu and this is mansub. However, the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even put it together, it has a deeper meaning than just the grammar, and this is the miracles of the Quran. Basically, in the Arabic language, this is the jewel I wanted to mention before we end. In the Arabic language, if I want to say that Zayd is hardworking, if I said زيد مجتهدا. زيد مجتهدا. It means that I know that Zayd, I know Zayd, I know him exactly. I know the person, I know his characteristics, how he looks, where he is. And I'm saying that this guy is hardworking. However, in other places, if you use inna, for example, the verification, you can say inna Zaydan mujtahidan. Verily, for sure, Zaydan, and you put a nasb, is hardworking. They say you stress it this way when you know the characteristics, but you don't know the person very well. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned birra, in verse 177, He said, لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ بِأَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبْلَ الْمَشْرِقِ. Birra is not to face the east and the west, but birra is this and that. Because the characteristics were there. So He put the bir in the state of nasb. It's not really known, but I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. Basically, it is defined by the characteristics. It is defined by the characteristics. And this is the beauty of the Quran. It is the beauty of the Quran in that when you don't know something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows, if you don't know exactly what it is, it's only known through the characteristics, so it's mansub. If it's known by its own self, and we know a concept of bir, He's going to put a rafa on it because now we know what it is exactly. And this is of the beauty of the Quran, that even the same word, once it can be a word that we know what it means, but it's kind of vague, and once we know exactly what it means, just by either do we put a nasb or do we put a rafa on it. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لكم واستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك آمين يا رب العالمين. Allah help us to worship you and to praise you and to thank you in the best of ways. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسنك في الأيام العشر. Help us to be excellent in our worship and our gratitude and how we worship you and thank you and remember you in the 10 days of Dhull Hijjah. And by the way, we are completing them as 13, not as 10, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we're going to tackle one of these verses, is that there's no blame upon you to finish all of Hajj in 2 days, which is the days in Mina after Yawm Nahr, the day of slaughter. And whoever completes 3 days, this is closer to taqwa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says this. And the 3 days of the Eid, they are the completion of Hajj. So we're going to have a small reminder in them. Of course, if you cannot attend, that's completely fine. But it's to complete and to feel that we are with the Hujjaj and we have the same camp they have. They have 3 days there in Mina, they're in camps and they do dhikr, layl, day and night. Prophet ﷺ said these are days of eating and drinking and dhikr of Allah. They stay there and they eat, and so they can have more energy to do qiyam and to pray more and to have more dhikr of Allah right after they finished Hajj. They want to come back to Allah right away. Just like after Ramadan right away, we have these 2 months, we are prepping for the season of Hajj. We are prepping, they are Ashar Hurum, they are Hurum months because we're prepping for the season of Hajj. Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you a chance to prep after Hajj for the rest of the year. So we are thanking Him, by remembering Him even more, and again in these 3 days before the rest of the year. Thank you for attending. سبحانك وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow, same time. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please share with your friends and family if you think there's any benefit, or if you think they'd like to join, please do share. Assalamu alaikum.